Hello everyone, my name is Maurice K. Maitland, and I shall talk to you briefly on the topic of fear. Imagine that you and I are in a small neighborhood. It's dark, it's cold, and it's raining. We then go over to a large church for some shelter and walk down the pews. As with most churches, there is usually joyous clapping, singing. But this church is dead silent, erroneous in nature. We see gloomy faces and quivering lips. Everyone is dressed in black. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are at a funeral. We then hear a girl, age 4, says to her father, "Why is mommy sleeping in that weird box? She'll catch a cold." The father says to his daughter, "A bad person got to mommy before any cold did." Confused, confounded, bewildered, the girl asks another question. "Who got mommy?" Choked for words, the father turns away his head before gathering that ounce of courage and turning back to his daughter. "Your mother has to stay there a while before leaving to go somewhere else." Happy with the reply, the girl says, "Okay, I'll see her when I get home." The hurting dad finally says to his daughter, "I'm sorry, Sarah, but your mother is never coming home." Sarah's mother is a victim of a recent terrorist attack. Normally when we hear these stories, we shudder in fear and get depressed. But ladies and gentlemen, the next time you hear one of these stories, I challenge you not to feel that all is lost, but rather, I challenge you to feel that something is vital, is achieved. Let's take a look at fear. According to the Oxford Dictionary, fear is the unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous and is likely to cause a pain or a threat. The American Heritage Dictionary defines it as an emotion of alarm and agitation caused by the expectation and realization of danger. Although I am young, I have seen and heard enough to know that we are living in fearful times, are we not? As a Christian, I acknowledge Jesus Christ and Paul the Apostle and what they say about the fearful conditions that we will experience in the last days. Jesus' list, according to Mark 13, 7 and 8, says, "There will be wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against other nations, kingdoms against other kingdoms. There will be earthquakes happening in various places." Take, for example, the earthquake that happened in Japan. Did you know that over 135,000 people are homeless because of this earthquake? This is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. In 2 Timothy 3, 2-4, it says, "People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, ungrateful, unforgiving. They'll be lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God." Indeed, we are living in fearful times. I know you heard in the news media that children, many children, are afraid to go to school. Why is that? Well, this is because they are fearful of school violence. They are fearful of school shootings. Take, for example, Columbine, Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook that happened in Connecticut. This is real, people. These are real stuff that's happening. These children are also fearful of pedophiles who may kidnap, sexually abuse, and ultimately murder them. Children are also fearful of bullying, and this includes cyberbullying. But that's not all. There's also fear in our economic and political arena as well. Currently, at this moment in time, the United States of America is in a $17 trillion deficit. Taxes are going up. Healthcare is costing more. People are losing their jobs, their homes. This is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. The government is passing laws that will hamper the purity of a moral society. But that's not all. There's also fear in our local communities and church as well. Let's take a look at our local communities. People are fearful of robberies. They are fearful of injustice, inequality, police brutality. They are fearful of contagious diseases, such as Ebola, HIV, or even the Zika virus that happens in the Caribbean at this time. I was going to go on a choir trip this year, but it was canceled because of that Zika virus in the Caribbean. It was because of that fear. Furthermore, we are fearful in our church. There's the fear of hypocrisy. There's the fear of apostasy. There is the fear of young people leaving the church. I know that's common in our church debate today. There's also fear of God's judgment in the last days, or what we like to call it, burning in hell. There's that. I know when a person hears the word fear, it conjures something negative, but I would like to suggest that fear has both a positive and a negative side. Let's look at the negative. Charles Stanley, a renowned televangelist, says this about fear. It stifles thinking and action. It creates doubts. It contributes to destructive behavior. And this fear can lead to alcohol abuse. It can lead to smoking, sexual abuse, and other destructive behaviors. Charles Talbot says that fear can cause paralysis. And this leads to catastrophe. Pope Francis says a similar concept. He says that fear is the attitude that weakens us, that diminishes us, and it even paralyzes us. Charles Talbot also says that fear even causes suicide. Church is silent. But that's not all. In an article by Dr. Lee Warren, he states cases where the fear of pain during pregnancy actually closed the fallopian tubes of a woman. He also cites cases where fear has caused actual near-death situations and death in the lives of people. This is frightening, ladies and gentlemen. Frightening. But let's calm our nerves a bit and look at the positive side of fear. We all know that children are afraid of the dark. And if they're afraid of the dark, it implies that they cannot find themselves in the dark. And they will stay in well-lit surroundings where they can see and avoid danger. Were they not afraid of the dark, they will fumble around and become victims of whatever the dark holds. As students in school, we often join a lot of people who are afraid of failure. And because we are afraid of failing, we make and take the time to do our homework, to study, and to make all the necessary preparations that will maximize our success. From these two examples, you can see that fear is a motivator. When people are afraid of animals, they will arm themselves where these animals are likely to be. When people are afraid of heights, they will be careful how high they climb, or not climb at all. If people are afraid of the dentist or surgery, they will make the preparations, whether mentally, physically, or emotionally, to prepare themselves to ease that pain. Don't they not? From all of this, we see that fear serves as a motivator. As in our communities, we see that the fear of increased taxes, fines, and parking tickets prompts us to be law-abiding citizens. When people say that they are afraid of death, it is not that they're really, truly afraid of death. They are really, truly afraid of what comes after death. They don't know what's after. And that is why they make preparations and find out so they can know and prepare for their near-death experience. Although I've said the positive and negative side of fear, what the Bible says about fear is that God does not want his people to be fearful. Neither does he want us to live reckless, carefree lives. But rather, he wants us to love him, to trust him, and be aware that all harm and danger, he can take care of it. Let me share a few Bible texts with you. Isaiah 41, verse 10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Psalms 34, verse 4 says, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in the Lord." Proverbs 29, verse 25 says, "The fear of man lays a snare, but whosoever puts their trust in the Lord, is safe." So I say to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, the world that we are living in, is fearful. And there's terrible things that are happening. Terrible things. And if, ladies and gentlemen, we put our trust in the Lord and cast all our fears upon him, he will take care of us and protect us. Thank you.